In 1996, the fallout from the genocide of 1994 in Rwanda was the creation of an alliance of African leaders who considered President Mobutu of Zaire the shame of Africa. The alliance was led by President Nyerere of Tanzania, who considered that President Mobutu was a puppet of the West, and he had long been fighting against the liberation of other African countries, and it was long considered that President Mobutu had spent 32 years in power at that point in 1996, had long lived his welcome, and was now to be deposed. And alongside this initiative was the creation of like the Alliance de Forces Démocratiques pour la Libération du Congo, the AFDL, as known with its French acronym, and from now on I will call it the AFDL, as they say in French. And then it was created on the 18th of October 1996 in Lemera, South Kivu. And then there was the refugee question, the question of refugees, and the country that was most interested in this was Rwanda. After the fall of President Habyarimana's government in 1994 and the ensuing genocide, most civilians and refugees fled across the border into eastern Congo, and they assembled at the giant Mogunga refugee camp. And on the 13th of November 1996, the Rwandans shelled Mogunga camp with mortars, and on the next day, on the 14th of November, the infantry moved in and they cleared the refugee camp. And the United States had promised an intervention force to stop what they considered the nearly a million refugees from genocide by starvation. And the Rwandans saw this intervention force as a way of stopping the real objective, which was a march on Kinshasa. And so that was the alliance in 1996. You have the AFDL being supported by Rwanda and Burundi, and then Uganda, and then Eritrea, the Sudan People's Liberation Army, and then on the other side of the fence you had President Mobutu's Zaire, supported by Sudan, and yes, on the 26th of November 1996, the AFDL went to take over Butembo and then Beni on the 30th of November 1996. And then the FARC never put up any resistance to this, and in some instances they joined the rebellion. And then on the 17th of December 1996, President Mobutu, on the background of all that was going on, he came back from Cape Martin in France, where he had been recuperating from cancer treatment, and returned to Kinshasa to a hero's welcome, and was welcomed by close to 1 million people. And long before his return from Kinshasa in November, Mobutu had sacked the chief of staff, General Eluki Monga Aundu, and he had replaced him with General Baramoto. And just to illustrate the level of disarray at the apex of the Zairean state, before he had done any sort of like defending the country, General Baramoto was replaced by General Donatien Mayele, and General Mayele was considered competent, and he was a product of the Saint-Cyr Military Academy in France, and had defeated the RPF, Rwanda Patriotic Front, in 1992 when they first attempted to depose President Habyarimana in Rwanda. Then by December 1997, the AFDL had defeated UNITA fighters at Bunya in the east, and then on the 2nd of February 1997, the AFDL took control of the Oso River on the Walikale Lobutu Road, and on the 6th of February, the AFDL started advancing southwest and took Shabunda, which opened the road to the mineral-rich provinces of Kasai and Katanga. And on the 3rd of March, the town of Kindu fell without a single shot being fired. And that was followed by Manono on the 4th of March. And then now the road to Katanga in the southeast was now open. And on the 14th of March 1997, Kisangani fell to the AFDL. And what was significant about this was that Kisangani is the first major city on the navigable point at which point you can navigate from Kisangani to Kinshasa on the boat. And what that meant was that the AFDL could just step on boats, and they went to Kinshasa. They go to Kinshasa. So, and then at this point in time, everybody realized the threat to Kinshasa was now real, and there were initiatives to effect a ceasefire, which Kabila refused, stating that only direct talks with Mobutu might bring some kind of peace. Then on the 20th of March 1997, the French deployed 100 soldiers across the river in Brazzaville with 5 transport planes to evacuate civilians in case Kinshasa was captured. And meanwhile, on the next day, the 21st of March 1997, President Mobutu landed at Njili Airport from the French Riviera, where he was recuperating from one of his rounds of cancer treatments. And unlike 3 months before in December, where he was given a Eurosecom, this time he was so weak he could not even step out of the plane unaided, and there was no pomp and the usual ceremony of a welcoming party of government officials. He avoided meeting with government officials and secretly used the back roads to drive into Kinshasa. On the 24th of March 1997, there was a special meeting of the OAU in Lome, and there was no agreement on anything specific except to state that the parties should implement Resolution 1097 of the UN, which was pretty much saying that there was to be negotiation, and Kabila declared that on the 25th of March that they were not going to enter into any kind of power sharing arrangement with President Mobutu in Kinshasa. Then on the 5th of April 1997, the city of Mbujimai fell without any resistance by the FARS, and a week earlier, Jonas Mukamba Nzemba, the managing director of the Société Minière de Bakwanga, known by its acronym MIBA, the giant mining company in the Kasai province of the then Zaire, declared that he was ready to work with the AFDL. And what was significant about this was that for the first time, the AFDL could finance the rebellion with the proceeds of the sale of diamonds. And this was noticed by almost everybody else, the mining companies in particular, and everybody else realized that the AFDL was now at the point where they could form the next government. And then President Mobutu reacted to the fall of Mbujimai by sacking Prime Minister Kengo Wadondo, and then in his place he appointed Etienne Tshisekedi as Prime Minister. And Tshisekedi went on to offer 6 portfolios to the AFDL, and the intention was that they could work out some deal where the AFDL would share power with the government of Etienne Tshisekedi and President Mobutu. And the remainder of seats were offered to Tshisekedi's UDPS party. And President Mobutu was not happy with this and vetoed the arrangement. And in his place, he appointed one of his generals, Likulia Bolongo, as Prime Minister on the 11th of April 1997. Of course, this was desperation at its worst, just rearranging the deck chairs on a sinking Titanic. Then 3 days later, on the 14th of April 1997, the southern city of Lubumbashi, capital of the Katanga province, fell to a combined force of AFDL, the RPA, Rwanda Patriotic Army, and the Katangese Tigers. The attackers first entered Zambia and then attacked Lubumbashi from the south, and this took everyone by surprise. But the DSP and the Uferi militias of Katanga's governor Kyungu Wakumanza were surprised, just like everyone else, as they expected an attack from Likasi or Kasanga. And immediately after this, Kabila decided that time was now ripe to change the flag from the green of Zaire to the blue and yellow of the flag that was used by the Congo immediately after independence. And after Kabila's declaration, that he was taking control, the Americans feared that Kabila was getting out of line, and that this might actually spread the war to other destabilize not only the Great Lakes, but the whole continent of Africa. And the U.S. ambassador.
Well, tomorrow, as you know, there is this very important meeting between President Mobutu and President Kabila. And so I wanted to compare impressions with the Prime Minister at his request before this important meeting.
He was fearing that bloodbath was going to
based on information that we received from the alliance to the effect that there were elements in Kinshasa who were planning to assassinate or attack foreigners here to try to provoke a military intervention from across the river. It was one of those things where we had no solid evidence.
Urged him to step down. Mobutu was so sick, and all he asked for was guarantees for his family and inner circle that they would be given safe passage out of Kinshasa. Richardson then flew to Lubumbashi, where he met with Kabila, and Kabila agreed to meet with Mobutu for negotiations. And on the 4th of May, President Mandela of South Africa convinced both Kabila and Mobutu to attend a meeting on the South African Navy ship Utenika. And then everyone else might want to know why a meeting would take place on a Navy ship, but Kabila was feared for his safety, and he first declined a meeting in Brazzaville, just across the river in the other Republic of Congo, and then Libreville in Gabon was proposed, and then he declined, and then Lome in Togo, and then again Kabila declined that choice, and finally it was the Navy ship Utenika, and even the President Mandela's moral authority flowing from his stature as a statesman could not bridge the gap between Kabila and Mobutu, and the two could not agree on anything. And while this was taking place on the 4th of May 1997, during a conference, the AFDL announced that it had taken the town of Kikwit, and Kikwit is not more than 100 kilometers from Kinshasa. And then Jonas Savimbi and his UNITA forces positioned themselves at Kenge, just 70 kilometers out of Kinshasa, and of course, Jonas Savimbi knew that the battle for Kinshasa was already lost, and he reassured the American Secretary of State, Madeleine Albright, that all UNITA wanted was to delay the Kabila's advance so UNITA could remove its equipment and personnel out of Zaire. And on the 16th of May 1997, President Mobutu met with his generals, and these generals, General Mayele to be precise, told him that he could not guarantee his security in Kinshasa, and with his family and security detail, Mobutu drove to Njili Airport, and he flew to his hometown of Guadolite, where he intended to take the last stand against the invading AFDL. In Guadolite, the DSP mutinied and threatened to kill Mobutu. And early in the morning of 17 March, an Antonov cargo plane was on the tarmac of the airstrip at Guadolite, and it was ferrying weapons to UNITA. Mobutu's security detail forced the pilots at gunpoint to divert the plane to Lome, where President Mobutu was expecting his friend Togolese President Eyadema to give him refugee status, but that was declined. Eventually, on the 23rd of May, Mobutu flew to Rabat in Morocco, where King Assad offered him protection. On the 7th of September 1993, Mobutu passed away at the age of 66, and he was buried in a mausoleum on the Christian cemetery in Rabat, known as the Cimetière Européen, that is the Christian cemetery. And then on the 17th of May 1997, the AFDL triumphantly entered Kinshasa, and it was a mix of the child soldiers known as the Kadogos, the small ones in Swahili, and APR soldiers, that is the Rwandans, and the UPDF, Uganda People's Defense Force soldiers. And then there was also the ex-Katangese gendarme, the Tigers, who had fled to Angola and fought alongside the Portuguese colonial government, and then after 1975 they were incorporated into the MPLA. And then Kabila immediately declared himself president, changed the country's name to the Democratic Republic of Congo, and on the 29th of May 1997, Kabila was sworn in as president at the National Stadium in Kinshasa, known as Stade de Martyrs, and attending was President Jose Eduardo dos Santos of Angola, and then Yoweri Museveni of Uganda, and then President Kagame of Rwanda. Despite the pomp and ceremony of what appeared to be Kabila's finest moment, his triumph over Mobutu, whom he had been fighting since the 1960s. This facade masked what was really going on, and the real power behind the whole thing was Kagame and Museveni. And Kabila at this point in time was what is known as a marionette in French, that is just a puppet, and the real, for instance, his chief of the army was a Rwandan general named James Kabarebe. Thank you so much for watching this documentary. If you're interested in material like this, please subscribe, and in the next second part of this presentation, I will be talking about the Second Congo War, which was immediately precipitated by Kabila ejecting the Rwandans from Kinshasa. Thank you.